If I were to ask you, what is time? How would you answer? A straight line that moves from the past through the present into the future. A river that flows forward and never looks back. Or maybe just the ticking hands of a clock on your phone that you check every day? To the ancient Maya, time didn't flow. Time turned. Time moved in sacred cycles. It wasn't linear, but spiral. Not a sequence of disconnected moments, but a rhythm, interwoven, repeating, layered, and alive. And what they left behind wasn't just stone, temples, and carvings. It was an entire system of understanding time so intricate, so accurate, so profound, that even today, we're still trying to understand how they did it. This was the Mayan calendar. A calendar not to plan meetings or mark public holidays, but a mechanism for measuring the heartbeat of the universe. A cosmic compass designed to synchronize the human soul with the motion of the stars. The Maya didn't just have one calendar, they had three. And each one didn't exist in isolation. They locked together like gears in a grand celestial machine. Spinning, turning, driving time itself. The first was the Tzolk'in, the sacred calendar. It had 260 days, divided into 13 cycles of 20 days each. And every day wasn't just a number. It was a force, a being, a sacred energy with its own name, personality, and influence. The Maya believed each person was born under a specific day sign, which shaped their character, fate, and spiritual path. And interestingly, the 260-day cycle aligns almost perfectly with the average length of human gestation, about 266 days. But for the Maya, it wasn't about biology, it was cosmology. They didn't just track time, they felt it, as if it were a living presence. The second was the Hab, the solar calendar. It had 365 days, 18 months of 20 days, plus 5 extra days, known as Wayeb. These 5 days were different, dangerous, out of sync. The Maya believed that during Wayeb, the boundary between the human world and the spiritual realm became thin, vulnerable. They avoided major decisions, stayed home, and performed rituals to maintain cosmic balance. Wayeb wasn't just a superstition, it was a pause, a sacred silence in the machinery of time. And then we arrive at the most mysterious of all, the long count calendar. This wasn't about months or seasons. This was about eras. The Maya believed the universe moved through immense cycles, each one lasting thousands of years. The long count was their way of tracking these epochs. It began on a date they called the Day of Creation, corresponding to August 11th, 3114 before the Common Era, in our Gregorian calendar. Each grand cycle was called a Baktun, 144,000 days, or roughly 394 years. And when the 13th Baktun ended, on December 21st, 2012, our modern world held its breath. Many feared it meant the end of the world. But the Maya never predicted an apocalypse. What they described was a reset, a renewal, a shift in cosmic rhythm. For them, the end of a Baktun wasn't destruction, it was elevation, the closing of one spiral and the rise to a new one, on a higher, more refined plane. What's even more incredible is the precision. The Maya calculated the orbit of Venus as 584 days, nearly exact. They tracked eclipses. They aligned their temples with solar solstices and equinoxes. Take El Castillo in Chichen Itza. On the spring and autumn equinox, sunlight casts shadows down the pyramid steps, creating the image of a serpent, Tzolk'in, slithering from the sky to the earth. This wasn't an accident. This was centuries of observation, data, geometry, belief. And in mathematics, the Maya used base 20. But more than that, they understood the number 0. They were one of the earliest civilizations to grasp this abstract concept. 0 isn't just a placeholder. It's a philosophical idea, a symbol of beginnings and returns. Because for the Maya, time didn't begin with an event. It began with a pulse, and that pulse kept beating, repeating, rising, spiraling. Western culture sees time as an arrow, linear, unstoppable. The Maya saw time as a wheel, rotating, eternal, but never redundant. Each revolution lifts you higher, into deeper awareness, greater understanding. So if you're living in the noise of modern life, believing everything is random, maybe take a moment to reconsider. Maybe you're not drifting through time. Maybe time is pulling you. And if you could learn to read that pull, if you could understand where you are in the great spiral, you might begin to remember why you're here, in this moment, at this stage of history. Because to the Maya, calendars weren't about remembering the past. They were about locating your soul, inside the blueprint of the cosmos. The calendar doesn't just measure time. The calendar is time. And the Maya may have left us a map to rediscover ourselves among the spirals still turning around. And within us,